He knew too much, and it ate him alive. Shikamaru was up there on the rooftop, wind slicing across his face, every thought heavy as lead. Ever felt trapped inside your own head? Like every insight, every smart move you make, isn't freedom but an invisible chain dragging you into a hole nobody else can see? He thought too fast, predicted moves, calculated futures, and in the end realized there was no way out. For most, the world was predictable. For him, it was a maze of emotional landmines. Every friend, every ally, every enemy, nothing was what it seemed. Every choice felt like a silent sentence because seeing too much hurts. You ever felt that sting of knowing something nobody else notices? Of staring at the raw, ugly truth and realizing it's harsher than any lie you could tell yourself to survive? Rain started to fall, mixing with the cold sweat on his brow, and Shikamaru felt something break. Not out there, inside him. The very thing that defined him, his intelligence, turned into his prison. Every calculated step, every brilliant plan, every analysis that separated him from everyone else, it all conspired to leave him alone. Because those who see too much, those who think too much, never really fit in. The pain of being awake while everyone else sleeps? It's not in your body, it's in your soul. And Shikamaru had been awake for a long time. Ever catch yourself thinking that way? Watching life like a chessboard you never asked to play? He was about to discover something that would change everything. Something that would make every strategy, every calculation, feel useless against a reality nobody wants to face. And that's when the story unfolds. See, nobody tells you what's really behind the curtain. What happens when the mind that's supposed to save you becomes the cage that consumes you? Shikamaru, with all his brilliance, started to see that the world isn't just unfair. It's cruel in a way that hurts more than any physical wound. He uncovered the worst about the world and there was no ignoring it. Imagine feeling every lie, every betrayal, every hidden motive exploding in your mind at once. And still, you have to keep moving, planning, acting. Because stopping isn't an option. You know that weight? Carrying the world on your shoulders when nobody else seems to care? It's like running through a storm, your body screaming to quit, but your mind pushing you forward. Here's the twist, there's a way out. A subtle exit, but it's not what you expect. Not heroism, not fame, not victory. It's something you carry inside, a thread of emotional strategy, an internal game nobody else can see. But does it really free you, or just change the shape of your prison? The truth? Shikamaru is about to show that intelligence isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's the chain that binds you. And just when you think you understand where it's going, reality steps forward, dark, silent, and dares you to keep up. So stick with me because what's coming isn't about easy wins. Not flashy blows, not shining heroes. It's about torment, the consciousness of a genius who saw what nobody else wanted to see, and the shadow he carries, and maybe the one you carry too. You ever feel that? That vibe of being stuck alone with your own thoughts, but still craving more? That's exactly where you fit in right now. This isn't just about Shikamaru or the harsh world he's uncovering. It's about you. About what you're carrying inside. Every insight, every doubt, every piece of pain you didn't even know was there. If you stay here with me, you'll see this doesn't stop now. Every story I bring, every shadow I reveal, it's made for us to look at together, to feel together. And if you really want to dive in, if you want to be here for every twist, every discovery, you've got to roll with me. You've got to subscribe. Because when you hit that subscribe button, it's not just a click. It's saying, I'm in this with you. I want to understand. I want to feel it. It's more than belonging. It's stepping into the next twist, the next pain that's going to hit you deep, the next truth nobody else dares to face. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The next reveals are going to cut deep. And only the ones who are here are going to get what's really happening behind the masks, behind the minds that think too much. So stick around. Subscribe now, not out of obligation but because you know you need to be here when the story moves on. Because what's coming next is going to show you something you didn't even know you needed to feel. Don't close the video yet. Don't let this shadow slip by without you catching it. Because a mind that thinks too much never stops. And the next turn is already on its way. You notice it without even having to think too hard. Shikamaru's world was never simple. It's not just ninja missions or tactical battles. It's the invisible weight every choice carries, the mindset you develop when you see more than everyone else, and realize that seeing too much can hurt more than any physical wound. The sky out there might look clear, but inside it, there are clouds that never fade. Every shadow of thought, every silent calculation, hits harder than anyone can measure. And you feel it too, don't you? That restless ache, that feeling that seeing the raw truth is, in some way, a curse. From early on, Shikamaru learned that noticing too much is a burden. The world doesn't like those who grasp things too fast, who read between lines nobody else even notices. While the kids around him laughed, played, and worried about little stuff, he was busy calculating possibilities, predicting moves, trying to organize a mind that never sleeps, a mind that never lets itself rest. And it shaped everything around him. People who tried to get close often couldn't keep up. Some felt envy, some fear, others just didn't get it. And so, he started isolating himself, almost without noticing, drifting away from anyone who might have been a true friend, because friendship demands a kind of simplicity his intelligence didn't allow. That's when you see the first crack. He seems in control, always 3 steps ahead, untouchable. But you slowly realize the control is just a mask. Every calculated move, every smile he gives, is just a pause between internal storms nobody else sees. The torment isn't caused by enemies out there, it's this tireless awareness that never shuts up. And you, sitting there staring at the screen, can you feel it? That chill running up your spine when you realize that understanding the world too well can be just as cruel as being trapped by invisible hands? Then comes the quiet pain. He realizes no one around him truly understands the cost of being this aware. It's not just loneliness, it's a kind of disconnect that cuts deep. Every conversation becomes a test, every interaction is filtered, every laugh seems distant, like it comes from somewhere he can't reach. He wants to fit in, but his own mind won't let him. You ever felt that? Being in the same room as everyone else but invisible because nobody shares the weight you carry inside? That's the pain shaping every choice he makes, every move, every strategy that looks perfect on the surface but hides deep cracks beneath. And the world out there doesn't make it any easier. Every decision, every step is judged. Every mistake is amplified. Every success just raises the bar even higher. He realizes that to survive he has to be flawless, but at the same time he has to protect himself from himself. The awareness of his own intelligence, something that should have been a gift, becomes an invisible chain. And you feel that weight, right? Because it's not just strategy or tactics. It's about understanding hidden truths, decoding what nobody wants you to see, feeling the real impact of seeing too much. And here's where it gets unsettling. You think you understand, you think you know what's happening, but each layer he reveals is just a fragment, a backstage glimpse of what's really going on, an echo of a hidden truth nobody's ever told you. And yet he keeps moving. Even knowing that every calculated step is a risk, that every insight is a sharp blade cutting through his own mind. He can't stop because stopping means getting swallowed by a world that doesn't wait. He has to move, think, anticipate. But every move creates new shadows, new dilemmas, new emotional blows you feel right alongside him. And you start realizing the torment isn't out there, nor purely inside him. It's at the intersection of mind and world, where choices and consequences tangle in ways that hurt, but also transform. And that transformation, that's hypnotic. It grips you, makes you look inward, makes you ask, what if you could see too much, understand too much, anticipate too much? How far is that a gift and how far is that a prison? Every revelation Shikamaru faces mirrors something you feel too. The pain of seeing what nobody else wants to face, the need to understand, the anxiety of uncovering what's hidden behind the curtain of your own mind. And while you try to process it, noticing that every detail matters, every shadow reveals something, the tension grows. What seems simple twists into something disturbing. What you thought you understood begins to warp, showing that the impact of seeing too much never ends. You ever notice how something that's supposed to be a gift can turn into an invisible chain? That's how Shikamaru's intelligence worked. A talent that seemed built to solve any problem, to open doors, to shorten paths. But slowly, it became a prison. Every insight he had, every move he could anticipate didn't bring relief. It brought responsibility, expectation, and above all, isolation. You feel that too, right? That sense that the more you understand, the heavier the world gets. Like the air around you is thick with choices you can't ignore, and every small wrong move has consequences nobody else can even imagine. There were times when that edge failed in ways nobody could have predicted. He'd craft perfect plans, analyze every move, calculate the future with surgical precision, and still, everything collapsed. A tiny distraction from someone who didn't see the world the way he did, an impulsive choice from someone who couldn't read the board, and chaos unfolded. Each failure wasn't just an external defeat, it was a wound in his own mind. Can you feel that? The weight of knowing that even the most calculated step can betray you? It's a kind of pain that doesn't show but eats away inside, invisible to everyone, except those who carry that sharp awareness. and the psychological impact ran deep. It wasn't just frustration, it was the constant realization that the very mind meant to protect him was becoming the enemy. He found himself caught in a spiral of thoughts. If I do this, will it work? What if I fail? What if everything I plan means nothing? Every victory carried melancholy, every successful plan held the shadow of what could have gone wrong, and anxiety grew like a silent storm. You feel that chill, right? That tension that keeps you up at night, imagining every scenario, every consequence of every tiny decision. And here's the kicker, you think you get it? You think you see the pattern, understand the dynamics. But that's when the next move knocks you down. Because Shikamaru's intelligence isn't just a tool, it's a reflection of the mind of the world around him. And the world? It's not fair. It's not linear. It doesn't bend to the rules of someone who thinks too much. Every advantage he had, every strategy that seemed flawless, collided with human unpredictability, hidden secrets that surface backstage, choices from others that escape logic. And suddenly you realize the prison isn't the world or the people around him, it's himself. And even knowing that, he keeps moving. Because stopping would mean giving in to the pain, and giving in isn't an option. Every analysis, every calculation, every insight meant to help him also opens new wounds. Every deep perception is a mirror showing not just the world but what he's capable of feeling, and what you, for some reason, recognize in yourself. A silent transformation is happening, a shift in mindset you don't see but feel. And while you think the story is linear, that his plans will work, that the pieces will fall into place, you realize the next revelation is going to flip everything upside down. Because there's always more in the shadows than you think. There's always a hidden truth waiting to surface, an impact you haven't felt yet, a secret that changes everything. And you don't notice it, but you're already caught in this flow with him, sharing every heavy breath, every doubt, every calculation that feels impossible to carry. You feel the tension, the safe kind of fear, the silent empathy that grows like a flame that won't go out. Every step he takes, every decision that seems right, is an invitation to go deeper. And even when you think you understand what's coming next, the story has already started to deceive you, pulling you into a place where advantage and curse blur, and where the sharpest mind faces its cruelest test. And that's when you start noticing something subtle, almost imperceptible. The intelligence he carries isn't just his. It's a reflection of what happens when you, anyone who thinks too much tries to deal with a world that doesn't wait, that doesn't forgive. And while you feel that connection, understand the pain, even try to guess the next moves, you realize nothing is as it seems. Every insight he has is a doorway to something darker, something deeper. And there, only there, the true curse begins to reveal itself. Quiet, slow, impossible to ignore. You can see it, Shikamaru's mind is a place few dare to enter. It's not just about calculations, strategies, or sharp intelligence, it's about a kind of loneliness you can't measure, can't explain, that only those who feel it really get. He's in the middle of everything and at the same time, completely isolated. Every face around him seems like a mask he can't fully read, and every gesture of friendship, every casual word, carries a shadow nobody else sees. You felt that, right? Surrounded by people, yet still alone, like nobody can truly understand what you carry inside? It's a slow-burning, silent kind of pain that follows you in every step, reminding you that understanding isn't given, it's earned and not everyone can reach it. That's where the internal conflict starts to hit harder. His mind wants to dominate, calculate every possibility, predict every move, but his heart keeps pointing to paths he can't take. Every desire, every impulse, every urge to connect is crushed by the relentless logic of his intelligence. And you feel it with him, don't you? That tension between what he wants and what he can do, between what's right and what's safe, creates an emotional maze he can't escape. Every choice that could bring relief also brings new questions, new consequences, new shadows stretching silently. And slowly you realize the real torment isn't out there. It's knowing that every decision carries a weight nobody else feels, that every step forward leaves invisible scars you can't show. And as he walks this twisted path, you start to see the backstage of his mind. Strategies that look perfect but are traps. Plans that save but also imprison. Hidden truths that surface when you least expect them, revelations that make everything seem more complicated than it really is. It's almost suffocating, isn't it? Like every breath carries expectation, and every glance around you holds the weight of judgments that go unspoken. He's constantly evaluating, weighing possibilities, anticipating disasters that haven't happened yet, but could explode at any moment. And you feel that tension rise because you start to see that this inner struggle isn't just his, it's a reflection of something that might exist inside you too. And even in this isolation, something barely noticeable emerges, a tiny spark of hope. Maybe it's a moment of connection with someone who approaches, maybe a fleeting sense of relief, a faint light at the end of the tunnel. But it's an illusion. You feel it, don't you? A thread of possibility that promises something better, but when it touches your hand, it slowly dissolves, leaving only the shadow of reality intact. And it's this very contrast between hope and frustration that keeps his mind alert, keeps his heart heavy, makes every breath feel like both relief and sentence at the same time. As he faces this emotional solitude, you notice how every decision he makes resonates on multiple levels. It's not just action and consequence, it's psychological impact, silent transformations that nobody else notices. Every move on life's board, every choice to step back, every calculation that avoids immediate disaster, also creates new cracks, new dilemmas, new backstage pains only he can understand. And you, there, sharing this experience, feel the weight of these revelations too. You start to wonder, if you had a mind like this, if you saw too much, if you predicted too much, could you handle it? And while you ponder that, you also feel the pull of his inner strategies, the way he manipulates every shadow to survive, every insight becoming a reflection of his own internal struggle. It's almost hypnotic, like you're inside each thought, living every racing heartbeat, every shiver of tension, every moment of decision that could change everything. And even when hope seems to appear, you sense it's not solid, it's just a prelude, a setup for something deeper, more intense, darker yet to come. Because the hidden truth is that isolation isn't just physical, it's psychological. And the internal conflict isn't just mental, it's emotional. Every fragment of his awareness becomes a silent trap, every reflection a mirror showing not just the world but who he really is, and maybe who you could be if you were in the same place. And as you feel that, as you share this experience, you realize that the pain, the tension, and the empathy aren't just effects, they're portals. Portals to the next steps, the next challenges, the next truths hiding backstage, ready to surface slowly, relentlessly, impossible to ignore. And that's when everything shifts. What seemed like just an internal dilemma, an emotional solitude, starts revealing layers you couldn't grasp before. Every small choice Shikamaru makes, every interaction he avoids, every hidden calculation, is a piece of a larger puzzle. A puzzle of mindset, strategy, and transformation that keeps unfolding, pulling you deeper and deeper, without you even realizing you're already immersed in the shadow he carries. You feel that, don't you? That weight in your chest, like every thought you have is being thrown against some invisible wall, and nobody else can see what you're really feeling. So tell me, drop it in the comments, what's that one line that hits you right now? That thought that crawls up your spine, gives you chills that nobody else gets, but somehow, right here, it makes sense. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone but you. Just let it out. It's like a quiet ritual, a small move that says, I'm here. I feel this too. You felt that kind of loneliness before, haven't you? Looking at the world and realizing nobody around you can see what you see. Nobody feels the weight of every decision, every choice your mind calculates but your heart still feels. So put it into words. Only you can write what you feel. Only you can show that hidden fragment of truth nobody else will ever understand. And you know why this matters? Because every comment here is like flipping on a light in the dark. Every word you drop adds meaning to what we're building together. This isn't just about you or about Shikamaru. It's about what we're feeling together. It's about seeing we're not alone in this maze of thoughts, in this quiet tension running between fear and understanding. Every comment, every phrase you share, is like cracking open a backstage door inside this complex mind. So tell me, do you think this weight we feel is a curse that isolates us, or a force that keeps us awake? Is it just a symbolic gesture, a line that could change everything, or just another shadow on the path? Two reads. Two sides. What's yours? And while you're typing it out, feel the flow of the story still pulsing around you, because what's coming next is gonna pull you even deeper. But right now, for a moment, this is yours. This moment is just yours. So write. Spill it. Show that you're here in the same space, the same tension, the same search for answers nobody else dares to face. Because that's what keeps the energy alive here. Every word you leave builds the path we're walking together. And as you're typing, feel the weight, feel the loneliness, feel the connection. And realize that even as the story keeps moving, you're not alone anymore. Every choice Shikamaru makes looks simple, almost automatic, but you feel the tension hiding behind every move. He shifts a piece, picks a path, takes an action that, at first glance, seems insignificant. But you know, just like I know you feel it too, that nothing here is truly insignificant. Every step echoes, reverberates, leaves invisible marks that only show up later. You feel that, right? That weird sense that the world responds in ways you don't expect, and that sometimes the weight of a decision isn't in the choice itself, but in what it sets off. He learns early that conscious decisions, thoughtful, planned, analyzed, carry a heavy burden. But even unconscious choices, the small gestures, the thoughts that come almost automatically, leave traces, impacts he couldn't anticipate. You felt that in your life, haven't you? That feeling when something you did without thinking, a comment, a look, a silence, changed everything around you but nobody noticed? That's exactly how Shikamaru moves through the world. Every mental calculation is an attempt to control something that will never be fully controllable. And then comes the silent tension. He does something thinking it'll help, thinking it'll protect someone, or himself, and the outcome is unpredictable. Something that seemed safe explodes into new consequences. And you feel that with him because you start realizing the brightest minds are also vulnerable, and the impact of choices isn't always proportional to the intention. It's visceral, almost suffocating, to feel that what you consider right can suddenly turn against you. And that's the point where the story fractures, where you need to notice every detail, every glance, every silent pause, because hidden truths live in the smallest gestures. And while this is happening, stay with me until the end. Because what's about to unfold isn't just a consequence, it's a revelation that shifts how you perceive everything so far. It's not just about Shikamaru, it's about how decisions, even the smallest ones, stack up, how layers of psychological impact interlace, and how, no matter how hard you try, you can't escape seeing what's happening behind the scenes. Stick with me to the end because there's a moment that'll make you question every choice you thought was safe, every decision you believed you controlled, and it'll show you that even what seems obvious can turn into something completely unexpected. He makes decisions looking forward, but every move carries echoes of the past. A gesture, a glance, a choice not to act in a critical moment. Everything sends waves to places he never imagined. And you feel that, right? The silent tension, the growing frustration, the awareness that the world reacts in cruel, sometimes unfair ways, and that every outcome, every consequence, can be heavier than he anticipated. And yet he keeps going. Because stopping would mean giving in to the pain, and he can't do that. You feel that pressure too, don't you? Like you're inside his mind, watching every calculation, every frustrated expectation, every silent impact. And the most unsettling part, you think you get the moral, you think you know where this is going, you think you've seen the pattern. But then comes the unexpected hit. A consequence nobody could have predicted, something that shifts the whole perspective you had on him, his choices, on what it really means to carry such a conscious mind. And you feel that chill, that shiver down your spine that says, wait, that's not what I expected. That's when the story really deepens, when the tension intensifies, when every thought you have connects to what he feels, and you realize simple decisions are never really simple. You see now how every choice, every fragment of action, carries a shadow of impact, a hidden truth that only shows itself when you least expect it. And as you try to process it, you realize you're caught in this flow with him, feeling every beat of his mind, every heavy breath, every moment where logic and emotion collide. It's almost hypnotic because transformation doesn't happen linearly, it seeps into you, makes you reflect, feel, question. Every decision Shikamaru makes becomes a mirror for what you feel, for the silent dilemmas you face, for the fear and curiosity running through your own mind. And it's in this moment when everything seems to settle that you realize, nothing's over. Every choice is just the start of new consequences, every move opens doors to deeper revelations, and if you've been paying attention you're already immersed, already involved, already a part of this story in a visceral way. Stick with me to the end. Because only there will you see how every shadow, every decision, every detail connects into something that changes everything you thought you understood, and makes you question every step you take, every choice you make, every moment that seems safe. You suddenly realize the world's not gonna wait for him. The relentless logic of life, society, invisible rules, they don't bend. Every calculation, every strategy, every carefully plotted move feels like it's hitting a wall that can't be moved. He gets it. No matter how much he thinks, no matter how much he plans, there are limits that don't give a damn about his will. And you feel that too, right? Deep down, who hasn't faced their own helplessness in front of something that seems simple? That feeling that the whole world conspired to place you exactly where you didn't want to be, and even with all your skills you're still vulnerable. He faces enemies that don't just come from the outside, they come from within. The external pressure's brutal. Expectations, rules, loyalties clashing, chances slipping away before they can be grabbed. But the real torment is inside. Every victory, every move carries a shadow of guilt. He remembers choices he made, paths he took, moments he could have acted differently and didn't. And then comes the anxiety, that silent tension squeezing the chest, making each breath fail, making every step feel way too heavy to take. You feel that, don't you? Like you're walking right there with him, feeling the impact of choices you never imagined, mistakes nobody else sees, but that carry crushing weight. And still he keeps going. Because stopping isn't an option. Every challenge that pops up, every barrier the world puts in front, is a silent chance for transformation. But you notice as you watch that transformation's never simple. Every decision made here doesn't just shape the present. It changes his mindset, how he sees himself, how he perceives the hidden truths behind people, events, intentions. It's a game of reflections, a continuous psychological impact, a battle unfolding both behind the scenes and in plain view. And just when it seems he's found a way out, a solution that could finally ease the weight, you feel the tension spike. Because something bigger's always lurking. A surprise nobody predicted, a consequence beyond logic, a revelation that makes the ground vanish under his feet. You realize that no matter how much he plans, no matter how tightly he tries to control every variable, life has a way of showing itself as unpredictable, relentless, cruel. And at that moment, the conflict feels almost tangible. Every breath you share with him is loaded with cautious fear, silent tension, deep empathy. He looks out at the horizon and sees there are no shortcuts. Every wrong move, every hesitation, every thought he holds back, could have unexpected consequences. And you feel that, the anticipation that something's about to explode, but you can't quite see it yet. Every interaction, every word exchanged, every seemingly tiny gesture carries the weight of past and future decisions. Hidden revelations that only become clear when the moment hits. And even when you think a solution's close, you see there are even deeper layers. The reality he faces isn't just external, it's a web of internal and external limitations intertwined. Guilt, regret, anxiety, silent fear, they all coexist in a tiny space inside his mind, and you feel it like you're inside it too. With every step, every breath, the tension grows, but so does a strange empathy, a connection you can't explain, but that hooks you to the story in a visceral way. The hidden truth is nothing simple. Every decision, every move, every conscious or unconscious choice is tied to consequences that go way beyond what's visible. And as you watch him face all this, you realize the story fragments and intertwines with your own perception, your own dilemmas, your own choices. Every impact, every backstage layer of psychological tension, every slowly emerging revelation is an invitation to reflect on your own limits, your own fears, and how every choice we make shapes not just the world around us, but the world inside ourselves. And as night falls on him, as every shadow stretches and every thought grows dense, you realize the solution, the one that seems so close, isn't real yet. Something bigger is approaching, silent, invisible, but impossible to ignore. And somehow you're already feeling it, the anticipation, the tension, the weight of what's coming. The story doesn't stop, and every fragment of awareness you share with him keeps the narrative alive, pulsing, impossible to walk away from. You feel his breathing almost synced with yours as the truth starts to fragment. Every detail that once seemed irrelevant now shines with a strange intensity, and you realize nothing you thought you understood up till now is solid. There are traumas he keeps silent, wounds that open long before any war, before any choice. You feel that, right? Like every invisible scar, every hidden shadow, is just waiting for the right moment to show itself, to change the way you see everything. Some of these secrets are subtle, almost invisible, tucked in the in-between of a gesture, a glance that slips away, a prolonged silence. But you sense it like you could reach out and touch every fragment of his mind, every decision born from pain, every calculation made to shield himself from something even he can't name. It's intense, almost suffocating, because you know each revelation doesn't solve anything. It only peels back layers, opens doors to mysteries that feel endless. He remembers moments nobody else knows, situations he never shared, because vulnerability is dangerous, because showing weakness would mean leaving room for destruction. And you feel that with him. The silent tension, the contained fear, the empathy that comes without warning, as if you're walking inside his mind, down dark corridors where every thought is a sharp blade, every memory an echo of pain. Then comes a revelation, subtle, almost imperceptible. Something that seems small but carries a deep psychological impact. A decision he made that changed everything, a gesture that seemed meaningless, a glance never understood. You feel the weight of it, right? The awareness that every detail, every fragment of truth, can completely alter the way you perceive him, what it means to survive in this world, how intelligence can be both a weapon and a prison. And it doesn't stop there. Every fragment of truth that surfaces seems to raise more questions than answers. You start noticing patterns, connections you hadn't seen before, but the more you notice, the more confusing it gets. Because his mind isn't linear, it's a labyrinth, a tapestry of pain, reasoning, and strategy. And you're in the middle of it, feeling every knot, every twist, every hidden shadow that reveals more about who he really is. And as you watch these revelations unfold, you start realizing something. Not every truth is freeing. Some truths hurt, some confuse, and some nearly paralyze. You feel that with him. The silent shiver, the almost tangible tension that comes when a forgotten memory resurfaces, or when a hidden secret emerges, in a way you still can't fully understand. It's addictive, almost painful, because each fragment of truth awakens not just empathy, but curiosity. And you want more, you want to understand every shadow, every recess of his mind, but you know every answer only brings new questions. You feel the psychological impact of these revelations. He doesn't move through the world just with intelligence, but with a painful awareness of what he carries inside. And that transforms everything. His mindset, the way he sees allies and enemies, every choice he makes from here on. You feel that transformation with him, almost like living each calculation, every internal battle, every moment when hidden truth threatens to swallow it all. And just when you think you've understood something, another fragment emerges, unexpected, silent, almost imperceptible. A detail that changes the whole perspective, a shadow showing that even the clearest revelation is only part of a much bigger whole. And you feel that familiar tension, the sensation that the more you uncover, the less certain you are, and that his psychological labyrinth is deeper than you ever imagined. Every memory, every revealed secret, every trauma that slowly shows itself, builds a web of impact and reflection that grips you. And the truth is, nothing ends here. Every fragment is just a door to another, every revelation a blade that cuts lightly, leaving space for more shadows, more mysteries, more questions that no one can fully answer. You feel it, the intimate connection, the tension vibrating between each thought, each gesture, each silence he keeps. And it's in this continuous flow, this dive into fragments of truth, that you realize the story isn't just about him. It's about you, your own unanswered questions, your own fears and silent choices. Every detail that surfaces is an invitation to reflect, to feel, to question. And yet, you remain trapped, hypnotized, knowing that every new fragment of truth only deepens the weight and intensity of what's coming next. You feel it, right? That silence before the storm, that moment where every sound feels warped, and even the air around you feels heavy. He's right there, alone, and you feel that loneliness with him. It's not just about no people around, it's a gap that eats away inside, an invisible presence seeping into every thought, every move, making everything too heavy to carry alone. And you feel that, 'cause for a second, time seems to slow down, and every choice, every decision that got him here shows itself with painful clarity. The despair is quiet, almost invisible, but you notice it in the little things. The gaze that drifts, the body trembling just slightly, the shallow, uneven breaths that barely keep pace. He thought he could control it all, that his smarts, his logic, his strategy would be enough. But the world, relentless, showed him a different side. And you feel the frustration, the helplessness, like you're trapped in the same maze of shadows and missteps. Every mistake, every calculation that once seemed right, now echoes with unexpected consequences, and his mind tangles in unanswered questions. And the psychological impact? It doesn't hit all at once. It's slow, corrosive, a poison that seeps into the backstage of his consciousness. You see the little cracks forming, pride twisting into guilt, anger morphing into shame, hope bending into anxiety. Every emotion becomes an internal spasm he tries to hide, but you feel it, you notice it, 'cause you're inside the story, writing it with him. That mind that once seemed razor sharp? Now it feels like a prison, every thought a blade and a shackle at the same time. He recalls past decisions, choices that seemed simple, but now show up with devastating consequences. And you realize that's the essence of collapse. The silent pain of knowing all your plans aren't enough to protect yourself, that logic and reason can't stop life from throwing you to the ground. And still, even in that moment, something subtle, almost imperceptible, starts to show. A tiny crack in the wall that cages him, a hint that maybe there's a way out, even if he can't see it yet. The isolation is crushing. He's surrounded by faces that don't understand, by rules that make no sense, by expectations he never asked to carry. And you feel the same tension, 'cause in a way you know what it's like to feel disconnected from the world, realizing every unspoken word, every restrained gesture, every hidden secret builds an invisible wall separating him from everyone else. The emotional weight is tangible, almost physical, and you feel the weight of each heartbeat, every shadow crossing his mind, every memory resurfacing unannounced. And yet, Among the wreckage of logic and control, there are tiny signs of transformation. Little cues, nearly invisible gestures, hinting that even at the peak of collapse, there's a chance to rebuild. And you notice it, that addictive tension mixing fear with curiosity, pain with hope, despair with the possibility of change. Every fragment of insight that surfaces doesn't solve anything, but it keeps you glued, stuck in the story, feeling every psychological impact, every hidden truth, every backstage of emotion slowly revealed. And when it feels like there's no room to move, that the fall is absolute, that the isolation is total, you start noticing something in the details. A gaze that doesn't fully fade, a decision he's still weighing, a tiny action showing that his mind is still searching for solutions, still planning, still surviving. The narrative fragments, despair blends with strategy, and the tension remains dense, hypnotic. 'Cause you understand that even in the depth of collapse, transformation is still possible, subtle, hidden, silent. And you stay there, breathing with him, feeling the impact of every past choice, the weight of every future one, knowing the peak of suffering isn't the end, but just another layer of complexity, a stage that sets the ground for something bigger, deeper, more disturbing, yet strangely more human. Every heartbeat, every shadow passing by, every fragment of consciousness revealed keeps you immersed, nearly breathless, realizing that the collapse isn't just his, it's a chance to dive into the depths of the mind and the pain we all carry silently. And while you're feeling every piece of his mind unfolding, every shadow, every scar, you start realizing you're not diving alone. There's someone on the other side, soaking in every detail, feeling every hit, thinking, damn, would I do it any different? Would I even make it through? That's where you step in, not as some distant viewer but as part of the flow, part of the reflection. And if any of this hits you, if you've ever caught yourself dissecting every choice, every move, every little lie we tell ourselves just to keep going, then you get what it means to be here right now, breathing this tension, this quiet pain we all carry. You feel it, don't you? That pull that drags you deeper, that urge to uncover every shadow, every secret. That's why it matters to stick around. It's not just about following his story, it's about stepping into a space where the questions don't come with easy answers, where every insight you catch actually lands with weight, with meaning. And you start to see you're not alone in feeling fear, doubt, frustration, or even hope. This is about belonging to a place where pain and reflection exist side by side, and every subscribe you hit is more than a click. It's a quiet pact. You want to keep exploring, to keep unearthing these hidden truths with me. It's not about numbers. It's about the ones who show up for real, the ones who feel the full weight of every thought, every collapse, every flicker of change. It's about building a silent but connected community, where everyone here knows the same ache, the same restlessness, the same need to face what the mind hides. So if this story hits something deep inside you, it makes sense to join us. Because what's coming next isn't just about him, it's about patterns, choices, truths we all carry but rarely dare to face. And you'll want to be here as it unfolds, as every shadow steps out, as every shard of truth sparks more questions than answers, feeling it with me firsthand. This isn't an empty ask or some formality. It's a real invite to dive in, to keep feeling, questioning, connecting. Because here, every mind that joins adds depth, and every person who stays makes a difference. You feel it too, right? That there's something at stake beyond his story, something that touches you, stirs reflection, triggers empathy, pushes against your quiet limits. So if you're feeling that intensity, if you want to keep breathing every shadow, every hit, every reveal, it makes sense to hit that button and be part of this. Not because you have to, but because you want to feel, to belong, to know there's so much more coming, and you want to be right here when the next layer of truth cracks open. You feel the weight of the air, thick, almost choking as he finally pauses. It's not a full breath of relief, it's that moment where your heart's still echoing the decisions gone wrong, the paths chosen without knowing all the fallout. You're right there, breathing with him, and you realize that even in the middle of this mental chaos, something is starting to reveal itself. Tiny sparks of clarity slicing through the fog, hinting that maybe, just maybe, not everything's lost. But don't get it twisted, this isn't the end. The shift sneaking in is quiet, almost invisible, and you feel you gotta stay sharp because every little detail counts, every nuance carries weight and meaning. He turns inward and you feel that movement, intimate, like being pulled by invisible currents dragging you into the depths of your own mind. It's painful watching him face past mistakes, choices that seemed small, but now hit like deep cuts to his psyche. And you realize those bitter lessons aren't easy to swallow. Each reflection spins like a blade, revealing truths he never wanted to confront, but now can't ignore. And still, even in this whirlwind of thought, something begins to shift. Not a miracle, not a ready-made solution, It's a subtle insight, barely noticeable, like light slipping through a narrow crack. You feel that spark, recognize the psychological impact it carries, and understand that the transformation isn't coming from outside, it's born from the depth of his own internal conflict. He starts questioning patterns, decisions, the hidden truths that shaped his reality, and you notice that even these small revelations crack the walls of the prison his mind has built. But you also notice the conflicts haven't vanished. They're still there, pulsing in the shadows, reminding you that every step forward comes with resistance. Every choice that seems right is pierced by doubt, by uncertainty, by that silent fear that the next decision might be the one to break it all again. And that's when you really feel the complexity, because relief is partial. There's room for hope, but also tension, and you're caught in that delicate balance, living each nuance like it's your own skin being pierced by these feelings. As he breathes, you feel the emotional weight of learning, of insight that doesn't solve everything but opens doors to new possibilities. His mind starts rearranging thoughts, analyzing past choices, weighing future consequences. Every fragment of change carries pain, burning memories, internal clashes that can't be ignored. And you feel it with him viscerally. This isn't just a story to watch, it's an experience that echoes inside you, sparking curiosity about your own choices, your own limits, your own fears. You start noticing the behind the scenes of this transformation, the quiet strategy of the mind trying to adapt, the mentality bending, breaking, and rebuilding itself, the reverberations of each choice that affect not just him but also how you see the world. There are internal twists, moments of doubt, flashes of clarity that confuse more than they illuminate, but each fragment is crucial, every revelation carries weight, every shadow hides secrets you can't fully decode yet. And even when the tension seems to ease for a moment, you feel something still coming. The emotional story isn't over, echoes of pain are still vibrating, questions remain unanswered, decisions still need confronting. You feel the need to stay sharp, to absorb every nuance, every psychological impact, every fragment of hidden truth, because every detail will shape the next move, the next layer of transformation that's still lying quiet, waiting for the right moment to emerge. You're right there with him in the flow, breathing, feeling, reflecting. The pain is real, the fear is palpable, the empathy is deep, and at the same time, there's room for a tiny spark of hope, a gap for something new to appear. But deep down, you know the journey isn't over, it's just starting to unfold, and every passing shadow, every considered decision, every subtle insight, prepares you and him for what's coming. And you realize that transformation isn't a full stop, it's a road stretching out before you, dark, intriguing, loaded with mystery, ready to challenge everything you thought was fixed. You feel the silence that lingers after all of this, heavy, almost suffocating. Every thought he's had still echoes, every choice that once seemed clear now twists with shadows, curves that only his mind, or maybe your own, can catch. It's not a full relief, not a peaceful ending. It's that weird feeling of standing at the edge of something deep, something still invisible, something that hits you in the spot you usually keep locked away from any light. He walks through his own thoughts, tracing patterns, second-guessing decisions, but you realize even he can't fully escape. Every insight that surfaces is tangled with doubt, with regret, with a pain you recognize, maybe even feel yourself. It's intimate, almost cruel, because it forces you to look inward and ask, am I trapped too? Has my own mind built walls I don't even see? And that's when the real impact hits. His story isn't just his. It's a mirror, a reflection you're holding without even realizing it. The echo of his choices reverberates, and you feel every consequence that once seemed distant, now heavy in your chest. Every shadow of regret, every hidden fragment of truth, every mindset folding in on itself. It mixes with you, making it clear that transformation never comes alone. It demands confrontation, demands pain, demands that quiet courage to face what nobody else wants to see. But even in the middle of all that tension, there's a thread of hope sneaking in, fragile, barely noticeable, like the universe offering a crack of light through the chaos. And you feel it, right? That weird mix of fear and curiosity, empathy and frustration, connection and distance. He's learning to handle the prison of his own mind, but the prison never forgets. And you, sitting there, take it all in, every shadow, every flicker of clarity. It's like you're breathing with him, feeling every squeeze, every beat of anxiety, every glimmer of revelation. You get it? The story doesn't end here, the pain doesn't magically disappear, but each little insight is a door cracked open, a doorway to something bigger, something you still can't fully see. And then, almost without realizing it, he turns toward you with that silent, weighted question. And you, have you ever felt your own mind locking you inside? The question hangs there, not rhetorical, but an invitation. You feel the tension spike, curiosity pulsing because you know the answer isn't simple. It demands reflection, demands courage, demands that you face the dark corners you usually ignore. As you take it in, you realize there's more waiting to reveal itself, something that will challenge not just his mind, but your own sense of limits, of pain, of emotional survival. The shadows remain quiet, but full of signs that only someone paying attention can catch. You feel the weight of that silent responsibility, to keep reflecting, to stay aware, to notice every nuance still waiting to surface. And on that threshold, the silence becomes almost like a shared breath between you and him, a space where tension and empathy coexist. You don't know exactly what's coming next, but you feel it deep down. The story isn't over. His mind still holds secrets, still shelters hidden truths, still keeps doors cracked open for new impacts, new transformations, new choices that will test limits. And even without knowing exactly where this goes, you feel part of the flow. Every thought passing through you echoes in him, and every insight he reaches reverberates in you. Does the story end for him? No. And for you? Not either. You're just there, caught between shadow and light, between pain and discovery, carrying the certainty that the mind, his and yours, is a labyrinth that never fully closes. You made it this far, and that alone says a lot about you. About the way you face your own mind, the way you face the shadows that creep in when everything looks calm on the surface. So before you bounce, do one thing for me, drop a comment that says, "I'm with you till the end." That's it. Simple. But it carries all the weight of someone who caught every detail, felt every squeeze, every reality check that cut through this story. Because, for real, that move shows you're here, living it with me, and that makes a difference. If you felt every fragment of pain, every subtle reveal, every decision that seemed small but blew up with impact, hit that like button. It's not just a click, it's a way of saying, "Yeah, I felt that. I'm here." It's a signal that you're connecting with everything we dove into here, that you get the weight and the beauty of what just surfaced. And hey, don't let the story stop here. There's a video right over there that dives even deeper into this same current, dropping truths that echo quiet but hit in ways you won't see coming. Click it and keep going with me, because this journey isn't just about understanding what happened to him, it's about you, about the choices you're staring down every day, about the limits your own mind builds and breaks. At the end of the day, remember this. His mind's prison still breathes even if he tries to ignore it. And yours? Well, maybe you haven't even discovered everything it's hiding yet. So drop your comment, feel the connection, stake your place in this space, and roll with me deeper into this spiral. Because the story keeps going, but only if you choose to keep going too. And you feel that, right? The story isn't over. It's just shifted into a quiet question. Are you gonna face what's still coming, or are you gonna let your mind keep locking you inside?